Coming up on Midco Sports tonight, it's Wednesday's list. David Brown joins me to reveal the top 5 men's and women's basketball players in the NSIC. Then learn more about an SDSU freshman that's making a huge impact for the Jacks. We'll bring you a David Jenkins Jr. feature. And finally, highlights from last night's rivalry matchup in Fargo, UND men's hoops at NDSU. All of that plus much more. Midco Sports tonight tips off right now. Hello and happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Kelly Stewart, and this is Midco Sports Tonight. And with it being Wednesday, we're going to reveal our list for the week, that being the top 5 men's and women's hoopers in the NSIC. And of course, to do that, I'm joined by none other than our NSIC expert, David Brown. How's it going?
Good. This list will be highly controversial, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness, there's so many good hoopers in the NSIC. Great problem to have. But David, we're going to start on the men's side with Northern State as a whole. And I guess we'll kind of call this our honorable mention because it's so hard to pick from their entire crew of talented players. We're going with the whole starting 5.
Yeah, and this is not meant as a slight to Northern State or anything like that. I just couldn't narrow it down to an individual player. It's more indicative, honestly, of how all the parts work together for Northern State. You have Logan Doyle down in the post, the transfer a couple years ago from South Dakota State, really coming into his own this year. A classic true back to the basket type of center who kind of knows what he's there for. Around him, 4 guys who can shoot, plain and simple. You have Ian Smith, point guard, top 5 in the league in assists, leads the Wolves in scoring. You have DJ Pollard, another guy who has both 3-point range and the ability to drive to the basket. Darren Paterka, he's hurt right now. They're going to get him back soon. But after he missed all of last season, he's reestablished himself as one of the more versatile offensive players in the NSIC. And then Gabe King, South Dakota product from Irene, picks and chooses his spots well. And I'm not even mentioning the bench guys like Carter Evans and Bo Freeze and Andrew Coleman and Justin Decker. Honorable mention just to Northern State's entire starting lineup, who's now won 18 games in a row. Simply remarkable. So they get an honorable mention. No individual singled out on Northern State.
Hey, I think they'll take that right now.
Sure, absolutely.
Games in a row. All right, well, getting to our top 5, we're going to start with Drew Deibert, University of Sioux Falls.
Absolutely. Drew Deibert is my number 5 player, twin of South Dakota State's Madison Deibert. And just like his sister, Drew can flat out shoot. 47% from the field, 37% from 3, averages 20 points and 6 rebounds a game. And he's also showing off more of a well-rounded game, using his 6'8" frame to create mismatches, and he doesn't just settle for threes. He's a good shooter, don't get me wrong, but this is the first year he's a junior this season where 3-pointers have not made up more than half of his shots. He's a smarter player. He's a more efficient player. He's getting some more help this season. Other Cougars have stepped up, but Drew Deibert, as he evolves into a more well-rounded player who doesn't have to rely on his shot, is still who the University of Sioux Falls looks to in crunch time, so that's why Drew Deibert is my number 5 player.
All right, I think if your last name is Deibert, you're just good at
basketball. You're fine.
You're fine. You're doing all right. All right, well, coming in at number 4, it is Minot State's Tyler Rudolph, David.
And a hidden gem for most people in South Dakota, not in North Dakota. Kind of a coming out party for Tyler Rudolph. He's a Bismarck product, went north to Minot State. He's always been a great scorer. The issue has been his team hasn't been that good. Not the case this season. Minot State is 16-2 in the midst of already their best season since joining the NSIC. Best season overall in 8 years. And the senior Rudolph is leading the way. Second in the conference in scoring at 22 points a game, along with 7 boards. And you want to talk efficient, shooting 61% from the field, 51% from deep. His scoring average has increased every single season since his freshman campaign. He averages 22. No one else on Minot State averages more than 12. Also has underrated defense, second on the team in blocks. Often has to go against another team's tallest player, matching up at that 4-5 spot. Tyler Rudolph will be a factor down the stretch for Minot State, and he's getting his due on this list at number 4. An underrated player that's starting to shine right now.
Sounds like he's putting the team on his back.
Put the team on his back, like Greg Jennings in that old Madden video.
Exactly.
Put the team on his back.
Exactly. Well, for number 3, we are going to stay north, but head over to Minnesota Crookston, and Harrison Cleary.
I've been preaching about Harrison Cleary for weeks, honestly, and the fact is that if you don't know him, get to know him. Minnesota Crookston in general has not really been an athletic power in any sport in the NSIC, but Cleary trying to change that narrative. Sophomore from Oak Creek, Wisconsin, leads the NSIC in scoring 23 a game, shoots 47% from deep, top 10 in the conference in assists, and that's led the Golden Eagles already, Kelly, to their best season in 20 years. If the season ended today, it would still be their best season in 20 years. Head coach Dan Weiss says that Cleary has the right attitude. He came to Crookston wanting to rebuild a program and leave a legacy. He's in the middle of his second season, and he's already their second all-time leading scorer, just to show you sort of the troubles that Crookston's had in the past. As a team, I think Minnesota Crookston's still a year or two away from truly contending, but as an individual, Cleary has that personality and moxie to take over a game. I would not be surprised if in the NSIC tournament, he just goes off, drops 35-40 on someone in a game, and leads UMC kind of on one of those Cinderella tournament runs. Cleary has that capability.
Hey, March Madness, I guess end of February madness.
End of February madness, whatever you want to call it.
Looking forward to it. Moving on to number 2, the product from England.
Yes.
Jordan Spencer.
Yeah. Is that your best British accent?
I think that was more Australian. But
Whatever accent you want to use, what more is there to say about Jordan Spencer from England? Augie's all-time assist leader, top 10 all-time in Division II history in assists, national championship under his belt, and he stepped up more in the scoring column in the 2 years since Augustane's title and has become one of the more complete players in the NSIC. The Vikings this season have kind of been up and down, but Spencer's been one of the few constants on the team. Battle-tested veteran. He's seen and done it all in basketball. It does not matter to me where Augustana finishes in the standing. Once the NSIC tournament rolls around, Jordan Spencer will get it done. Honestly, one of the all-time greats at Augustana, still leaving his mark, still climbing up these all-time lists at Augustana and in Division II in general. Jordan Spencer is number 2 on my list.
yeah, he is very impressive. But without further ado, on to number one. Number one. And that is Ryan Bergman. And he had a really impressive NSIC tournament last year, which kind of, I guess, launched him a little bit farther onto the scene.
Yeah, his NSIC tournament performance is sort of what's carried over into this season. That's why he's number 1 to me. Career highs right now in scoring and assists for Southwest Minnesota State, which is what you want from your point guard, But having watched him in person several times over the past year or so, what sets him apart is the moxie. There's no stat that can quantify moxie, but you just kind of know it when you see it. Just last week against Minnesota Crookston, SMSU was leading most of the game. Golden Eagles cut the lead down to 3 with a minute to go. Who takes the shot with 30 seconds left to put him up 5? Ryan Bergman. Who hits clutch free throws down the stretch? Ryan Bergman. Who's built up through empirical game experience what it takes to win? Ryan Bergman. He just has that knack for the big moment that solidified itself in the NSIC tournament last season when he was the tournament MVP, and it's carried over to this season. He was the preseason player of the year, still living up to those preseason standards. So that's why Ryan Bergman from SMSU, to me, is the best men's player in the NSIC.
Yeah, he has been fantastic. But like you said, David, it was hard to narrow this list
It is hard to narrow
5.
this down. I'm sure some people will feel slighted or not. I don't know how much people care about my rankings, but
Hey,
these
I
are
care.
my rankings from someone who's watched it for a little bit.
Exactly. Lots of experience there. All right. Well, when we come back, we
Another
have
list.
another list. David and I are sticking right here to bring you the top women's hoops players in the Northern Sun. This is Midco Sports Tonight.
Midco Sports Tonight, presented by Avera Orthopedics.